There's something about The Chosen that pulls us in. Not just the miracles, the drama, or the historical weight of it all. It's the people, the ones behind the apostles, the quiet strength in their eyes, the vulnerability in their voices, and while we've come to love them as disciples, zealots, tax collectors, and Pharisees, what we don't see on screen is just as fascinating. Their real lives, their hidden heartbreaks, their private vows, their quiet, sacred moments of love. Today, everything changes because now, after years of speculation, silence, and mystery, the cast of The Chosen is finally opening up about who they love, who they've lost, and why some of them may never marry at all. This isn't just gossip, it's the human side of holiness. And trust me, it will leave you speechless. Let's start with the one everyone wonders about, Jonathan Roumie. The man who plays Jesus with such compassion and power that even people who don't believe find themselves tearing up. His portrayal is so intimate, so sincere, that we often forget Jonathan isn't actually divine. He's human. And that means, just like the rest of us, he's walked through questions of love, loneliness, and longing. But here's the truth. And it might surprise you. Jonathan is single, not just recently, not just technically, but deliberately. At 50 years old with growing fame, countless admirers, and an open world of possibility, he has chosen solitude. Not because he's heartbroken, not because he hasn't had offers, but because in his own words, he has surrendered that part of his life to God. He said this in more than one interview, but the way he says it, it doesn't sound like someone denying himself. It sounds like someone in deep peace. A peace you don't often find in Hollywood, or even in real life. He's not chasing. He's not scrolling. He's not hoping for someone to come along and fix the silence. He's embraced it. And somehow it makes his portrayal of Jesus even more powerful. Because when he says, "I see you on screen," it's not just acting. It's a man who's spent years learning to see himself clearly. You might think a life without romance sounds empty. But the way Jonathan carries himself, the way he prays, walks, and connects, it feels full, rich, anchored. And yet, despite this vow of stillness, fans can't help but wonder, is there someone watching quietly in the background? Someone he doesn't talk about? Someone who's waiting too? The truth is, if there is, he'll never say. Because this man is a fortress, gentle but closed. And maybe that's exactly what makes us love him more. Because in a world that overshares, Jonathan Roumie reminds us of the power of restraint, of mystery, of trusting the unseen. But not every member of the chosen cast follows the same path. Some have found love in unexpected places. Others keep their hearts behind locked doors. And some, like the next actor we're about to talk about, are so private, it's like they barely exist beyond the screen. And yet the mystery surrounding them only draws us closer. Who are they really? And are they hiding something more? Keep watching, because Shahar Isaac's love life might just be the biggest unsolved riddle in the Chosen universe. If Jonathan Roumie is the heart of The Chosen, then Shahar Isaac is its enigma. He plays Simon Peter, the fiery, impulsive, loyal disciple, who walks on water and drowns in doubt. And while his character wears his emotions on his sleeve, the man behind Peter is the exact opposite. Shahar Isaac is quiet, guarded, elusive. He doesn't post often. He rarely gives interviews. And when he does, he says just enough to keep the mystery alive. Fans have searched for clues. Instagram deep dives, tagged photos, even blurry screenshots from behind-the-scenes events. But nothing. No partner. No wedding ring. No public relationships. It's like Shahar lives in a different time, off the grid, away from the noise, untouched by fame's need for exposure. And maybe that's part of the magic. Because when you watch him on screen, you feel everything. The pain in his eyes, the weight of failure, the fragile love between Simon and Eden. And it makes you wonder, how can someone so private, so distant in real life, express such deep emotion on screen? That kind of acting doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from lived experience, from heartbreak, from hope, from some quiet, hidden place he doesn't let anyone see. There have been rumors, of course, whispers of a girlfriend from years ago, a possible relationship back in his theater days. But nothing confirmed, and Shahar doesn't correct them. He doesn't deny, he doesn't explain, he just lets the silence speak for him. And in that silence, fans project everything. Maybe he's secretly married. Maybe he's celibate. Maybe he's still healing from something that shattered him. Or maybe he's just living his life without needing us to know it. What's undeniable is this Shahar's ability to disappear off screen makes his presence on screen even more powerful. When Simon Peter breaks down, it feels real, because you know it's coming from a man who understands what it means to carry something alone. Who knows what it's like to keep your heart hidden, not just from others, but maybe even from yourself. And as The Chosen moves into its most emotional season, yet fans can't help but wonder if Shahar will ever let the world in. Or if, like Simon, he'll always be a little out of reach, burning with love but too afraid to show it. Elizabeth Tabish doesn't just play Mary Magdalene, she embodies her. There's a quiet ache in her eyes, a soul-deep gentleness in her voice, and a strength beneath her softness that pulls you in episode after episode. On-screen Mary is broken, but healing, shamed but redeemed, and always searching for peace in the arms of a forgiving God. But off-screen Elizabeth's life tells a story that feels just as profound and just as beautiful. Because while her character has never had a romantic storyline in The Chosen in real life, Elizabeth Tabish is living out what can only be described as a quiet, sacred love story. In 2022, she shared a glimpse into her wedding, a soft, dreamy moment captured in photos that felt like stepping into a vintage love letter. The ceremony was intimate, surrounded by nature and simplicity, with no flashy announcements, no tabloid attention, no over-the-top displays. Just Elizabeth glowing in gentle light and her husband, whose name she's never tagged, whose identity remains unknown to most of us. And that choice, that decision to protect something so personal from the spotlight, it tells you everything about the kind of love she values, private, soulful, rooted. In a caption that melted thousands of hearts, she wrote, "Being with someone who truly understands your soul, it's a gift I don't take for granted." That one sentence hit deeper than any Hollywood romance. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, it was real. And suddenly it made sense why she plays Mary Magdalene so well, because that same sense of spiritual depth, of poetic vulnerability, is woven into Elizabeth's real-life presence. She's not just an actress, she's an artist, someone who feels deeply, loves quietly, and expresses herself in ways that linger long after the screen fades to black. On her social media, you won't find curated glam shots or trendy hashtags. Instead, you'll find moments of stillness, a leaf in the wind, a quote from a forgotten poet, a photo of a candlelit room with a caption about surrender. And in that space, you feel her. You feel her heart. You feel how her love, both for her art and for her partner, is something sacred and slow burning. What's interesting is how Elizabeth's personal life begins to reflect in the way we perceive Mary Magdalene's story, even though the show hasn't explicitly paired her with anyone. Still, fans can't help but notice the quiet, almost imperceptible tension between Mary and Matthew. It's not overt. It's not romantic in the traditional sense. But it's there, in the long glances, in the mutual respect, in the way they listen to each other when no one else does. There's a softness, a connection, something tender and barely spoken. And the fandom? Oh, they've noticed. Fan edits have exploded online. Slow-motion clips of their scenes together backed by emotional piano, music, and heart-wrenching captions. People want it. Not because they need a love story for Mary, but because they sense something real. Something that mirrors the kind of love Elizabeth seems to live in real life. Quiet, honest, rooted in understanding rather than desire. Whether or not The Chosen ever explores that thread between Mary and Matthew. It's clear that the emotional undercurrent exists, and Elizabeth is at the center of it, pouring her lived experience into every glance and breath. There's also something deeply healing about watching Elizabeth's journey. In past interviews, she's spoken about her struggles with depression, with doubt, with feeling invisible in an industry that often celebrates surface over substance. There was a time not too long ago when she almost gave up acting entirely. She felt lost, rejected, forgotten. And then The Chosen happened. Suddenly a role came along that didn't ask her to be glamorous or perfect. It asked her to be real, to show pain, to show transformation, to show grace. And she did not just as a performer, but as a woman who had walked through her own wilderness and come out on the other side. Her portrayal of Mary Magdalene isn't just powerful because of what's written in the script. It's powerful because you can feel that Elizabeth has lived her own version of that redemption arc. She's someone who's been broken, who's been overlooked, and who's now being seen, not just by millions of fans, but by someone who loves her deeply, fully, and privately in the real world. And isn't that what so many of us want? Not the spotlight, not the noise, but a love that feels like poetry, a life that feels aligned, a purpose that finally makes sense. Elizabeth Tabish gives us hope that such a life exists, not only because of who she married, but because of how she lives. She shows us that you can be spiritual and romantic, that you can be artistic and grounded, that you can be both Mary Magdalene and Elizabeth Tabish, redeemed, radiant, and in love. And even though she protects her relationship from the public eye, she still gives us something so rare, a glimpse of real intimacy, real commitment, real joy. So when we watch her on screen, kneeling before Jesus, holding back tears, or standing with the other disciples in silent strength, we don't just see a character, we see a woman who knows what it means to fall and to rise, to be broken and chosen, to be loved in the truest, deepest way. And maybe that's why we root for her both in the series and in real life. Because Elizabeth reminds us that the most powerful love stories are often the ones told quietly away from the spotlight in the sacred stillness of a shared life. Jonathan Roumie never meant to become the face of Jesus for millions of people. Before The Chosen, he was just another struggling actor in Los Angeles, delivering voiceovers, waiting tables, and wondering if he'd ever catch a break. He's spoken openly about how he was almost completely broke down to his last few dollars, praying not for fame, but just for survival. Then came The Chosen, and everything changed. Practically overnight, he went from anonymity to being recognized in airports, churches, and city streets around the world. But what's even more fascinating than his rise to fame is the mysterious way he guards his private life. Because while fans everywhere adore him and his social media is filled with inspirational posts, interviews, and faith-driven reflections, there's something missing. Jonathan Roumie is 50. He's handsome, deeply spiritual, talented, and clearly loved by millions. So why is there no confirmed relationship? No public partner? No engagement? And is he really single or just protecting something deeply personal? Here's what we do know. Jonathan has spoken passionately about his faith, his struggles, his gratitude. He posts prayers, shares spiritual insights, and is deeply involved in Catholic ministries and pro-life events. But when it comes to romance, he's silent. Fans have asked, commented, and speculated. And the internet has responded with a storm of theories. Some believe he's secretly married. Others are convinced he's in a long-term relationship with someone outside the spotlight. And many are simply hoping, maybe even praying, that he and Elizabeth Tabish, yes, Mary Magdalene herself, might be more than just friends. The chemistry between them is undeniable. Not in a romantic, scripted way. The Chosen has never pushed that narrative, but in a subtle, soul-connected kind of way. Behind-the-scenes photos, red carpet interviews, and joint appearances reveal a closeness that goes beyond coworkers. They laugh easily, they mirror each other's energy. They often look more comfortable beside each other than with anyone else. And fans have noticed. But here's the twist. Jonathan has never once commented on any of the rumors. He's never posted a photo with a romantic caption, never even hinted at a partner. And in today's world of celebrity oversharing, that silence speaks volumes. It could mean he's single, it could mean he's celibate, committed fully to his spiritual mission, or it could mean he's in love and fiercely protective of it. What makes Jonathan so compelling is that, like Jesus in The Chosen, he carries an aura of mystery. You feel like you know him, and yet you don't. He's kind, warm, grounded. But there's a depth there that remains hidden. It's that hiddenness that draws people in. It makes fans want to know him, understand him, even be close to him, and it leaves the question open. What or who is he protecting? One theory that has taken on a life of its own is that Jonathan Roumie and Elizabeth Tabish are quietly together in real life. There's no confirmation, no public statements. But fans have pointed to soft moments. The way he looks at her when she speaks during interviews, the way she lights up when he's near. In one particularly viral interview, when a reporter asked Elizabeth what it's like to work with Jonathan, she paused, smiled softly, and said, "It feels like grace. Like being around someone who carries peace." That wasn't just co-star talk. That was personal. And Jonathan? He looked at her with such tenderness, such unspoken affection, that fans instantly began tagging the moment with captions like, "Just say you're in love already." And yet they remain silent, not cold, just quiet, which only fuels the speculation. And perhaps that's the point, because Jonathan Roumie isn't just an actor anymore, he's become a symbol of quiet strength, of devotion, of faith in the unseen. Whether or not he's in love, he's teaching millions what it looks like to live with purpose, and perhaps what it looks like to protect something sacred. Whether it's a relationship, a calling, or simply his peace of mind, he's made it clear that not everything needs to be shared with the world. Still, fans can't stop wondering, could there be a wedding in secret, a hidden ring, a love story waiting to be told? If The Chosen has taught us anything, it's that the quietest moments often carry the deepest meaning. So, maybe Jonathan Roumie's silence isn't emptiness. Maybe it's a love story unfolding behind the scenes, too precious for the spotlight, too sacred for the scroll. And maybe that's exactly the kind of love the world needs to believe in. Season 5 of The Chosen isn't just another chapter in the story. It's the beginning of the end. And the emotional weight of what's coming is already starting to crush the hearts of fans. Because this is the season where Jesus enters Jerusalem. This is the season where prophecy collides with betrayal, where joy turns into sorrow, and where the disciples begin to fall apart. Everything they thought they understood is about to be tested. The miracles won't stop, but the danger will rise. The love will deepen, but so will the opposition. And for the first time, even the most faithful followers will begin to ask, why is this happening? And how could it end like this? The Palm Sunday moment, Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, won't just be a triumphant parade. It will be layered with tension. Crowds will cheer while the Sanhedrin quietly plot. Children will laugh while Roman soldiers watch with suspicion. And in the midst of it all, Jesus will look heartbroken. Because he knows. He knows what's coming. He knows this joy is temporary, that betrayal is around the corner, that Judas, his friend, is already slipping away. The show's creators have promised that Season 5 will explore the inner lives of the disciples like never before. We will see fear, doubt, anger, even jealousy. We'll see Peter question everything, Matthew wrestle with shame, Mary Magdalene feel abandoned again, and Judas will make his final choice. But it's not just about betrayal. This season is about purpose. Jesus will begin to speak more boldly. The parables will carry warnings. The tone will shift from invitation to confrontation. His words will shake the temple and silence the scholars. And the people, who once begged for his touch, will begin to turn away. Why? Because truth costs something, and Jesus refuses to play it safe. In Season 5, he becomes dangerous to the system, too honest for the priests, too powerful for the empire, and too radical for the crowds who wanted a warrior king, not a suffering servant. Behind the scenes, the cast has hinted at deeply emotional moments, scenes that left the crew in tears. Jonathan Roumie said that filming Season 5 was like carrying a weight you can't put down because you know where it's leading. And it's not just him. The other actors, who've spent years growing into their roles, are now portraying their characters at the edge of heartbreak. This is the season where friendships fracture, faith is tested, and the shadow of the cross begins to fall. But amid the pain, there's also beauty. The Last Supper will be filmed with breathtaking reverence. The teachings will still shine with hope. And Jesus will continue to heal, not just bodies, but broken spirits. The disciples may stumble, but they will also rise. And the audience will feel every moment as if they were there. That's what makes The Chosen so different. It doesn't just tell the story, it pulls you inside it. And here's the truth. If Season 5 is leading us into darkness, it's only because light is on the other side. The pain is real. The betrayal is near. But resurrection is coming. And for now, we walk with Jesus one final time into the city that will crown him king and crucify him days later. This season will change how you see the Gospels. It will break you, but it will also prepare You for what's next. Because after season 5, nothing in The Chosen and nothing in the hearts of its viewers will ever be the same again.